Americans are preparing for increasingly tough economic times. Nearly 1 in 4 report having no emergency savings. Joining me now is our financial expert, Vic Russell, to talk a little bit more about how you can prepare for potential economic downturns, even when increased inflation makes it difficult to save. Vic, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Derek. Good to see you this afternoon.
You as well. So what are some key mistakes that you see people make financially, especially with the current interest rates as high as they are?
Yeah, I think, Derek, right now we're in a situation where there's a lot of uncertainty, but there are things that are certain. And I think that's what individuals really need to concentrate on. I think individuals in this present economy really don't have a really good understanding of how much the price of items have increased. For example, average price of a new car now is up over $47,500. And the interest rates on car loans are higher now too, even though there's a hint that the Fed may be reducing interest rates. We don't know how quick that's going to trickle down to consumer loans and automobile loans. So the car payments are much higher. So according to a recent study by Pew Charitable Trust, there's a lot of individuals that have 25% or more of their income just paying a car payment. And that's 25% of their net income. And that's just not sustainable. That number should be right around 12 to 13%. So I think, being realistic about what expenses are today, I think maybe making major purchases that you may be setting off in the future for, like right now. My wife and I, for instance, we bought a brand new dryer a few months ago, expecting that the price of those types of items, washers, dryers, hot water tanks, those types of things, was probably going to go up, and they have. So we got it at a lower price. So, making those plans for, making those types of purchases and using projected expense ratios to determine exactly how much you should be spending on items, I think is a good starting point for a lot of individuals.
What tips do you have for people trying to save money as inflation creeps up?
Yeah, I think it's all about making savings a priority. Some of the things we often hear from people that we counsel on a regular basis that come to us, that are having some personal financial management issues, is we ask them about how their savings program is. And what we always hear is, if I had it, I'd save it. Well, we end up finding it. We say, hey, you have it, let's find it. And we end up finding it in different areas, everyday little things that people spend money on. Bankrate.com came out with this list of top 10 money drains that if you add up the dollars in over months in a year, you're talking hundreds and thousands of dollars. So savings has to be a priority. And, you have to take a look and see exactly what you need in an emergency savings program. For emergency savings, you should have about 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved up. Now, when I say living expenses, those are utilities, your house payment, those types of things that don't include credit cards, or personal loan payments. So, when you start taking a look at all of your income, and you look at where it's going, I think, making savings a priority, even if you can save 5% of your income, experts say you should save 10%. I think you need to start a routine. And once you start that routine, you'll be successful in watching that balance grow.
And Vic, finally, what about working to pay down debt? We know credit cards and personal loans are at an all-time high. What are some tips there?
They are, and once again, that's one of those plans. Once again, to where there's these loan, avenues that you can take. This buy now, pay later, how it's mushroomed and out of control. 91 million people in the United States are expected to use buy now, pay later loans. And 25% of those individuals are using that money for groceries. Groceries is an expense that you should be planning for, not borrowing money for to pay off 6 weeks later at 0% interest. Problem is, those people aren't paying those loans off. So, creating that type of debt, I think, not doing that is a good starting point. When you take a look at the overall debt, average interest rate on credit cards right now, 22%. Once you start identifying what type of debt you have out there and addressing the higher interest rate loans first, I think that's what you need to do. But you really need to identify what you have. And if you need to obtain a free copy of your credit report, do that and see exactly what type of debt you have. Magic number, Derek, magic number is you should have no more than 15 to 18% of your net income servicing debt. And that doesn't include your house payment, doesn't include your rent, but that's your car payment, personal loans, and credit cards.
Excellent. Yeah, as always, we appreciate the advice. Vic Russell, thank you so much.
Very welcome, Derek. Thanks for having me.